From the Latin word calor meaning to heat, a calorie is a unit of measurement. Specifically, it's defined as the amount of heat needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. Calories in the food we eat provide energy in the form of heat so that our bodies can function. Everything we do relies on the energy that comes in the form of these calories, whether it's sitting on the sofa or playing sport. We burn about 1 calorie per minute watching TV, the same as sleeping. We burn much more whilst active. Calorific content of different foods vary. Adults generally need between 1,600 and 3,200 calories per day. Males need more than females, and children need less than adults. If you eat more calories than you need, your body changes extra calories into fat. If you consume approximately 3,500 excess calories, you will gain 1 pound in weight. To lose weight, you need to have a calorie deficit. Remember, there are no good or bad calories, or even bad foods. There is bad diet though. A furlong is a measure of distance in imperial units equal to 1/8 of a mile, equivalent to 660 feet, 220 yards, approximately 201 metres or 10 chains. And there is a very interesting relationship between the chain and cricket. The name furlong derives from the Old English word fur meaning furrow and lang meaning long. Dating back to at least early Anglo-Saxon times, it originally referred to the length of a furrow in 1 acre of a ploughed open field, a medieval communal field which was divided into strips. The furlong was a distance a team of oxen could plough without resting. The system of long furrows arose because turning a team of oxen pulling a heavy plough was difficult. A furlong is still used in the measurement of horse race distances. A hand is an ancient unit of length, now standardised at 4 inches and used primarily for measuring the height of horses from the ground to the withers, which is the top of their shoulders. The unit was originally defined as the breadth of the palm, including the thumb, but because hands vary in size, a standardised measure was needed. The law of King Henry VIII established the hand at 4 inches. A horse that is measured at 60 inches would be 15 hands high. Single-inch increments in height between the 4 inches are shown as 0.1, 0.2 and 0.3. For example, a horse can be 14 hands, 56 inches, 14.1 hands, 57 inches, 14.2 hands, 58 inches, or 14.3 hands, 59 inches, but never 14.4 hands tall. After 0.3 it jumps up to the next whole number, i.e. 15 hands high, and that's 60 inches. A mature horse, shorter than 14 hands, is considered a pony. So now you know how to measure the height of a horse. Horsepower is a unit of measurement of power, or the rate at which work is done. It's usually in reference to the output of engines or motors. The term was adopted in the late 18th century by the Scottish engineer James Watt to compare the output of steam engines with the power of working horses. The comparison was needed because the average person was completely unaware of the power of these steam engines. Watt chose a relationship between how much weight a horse can lift while pulling a rope running through a pulley to a weight on the ground. A horsepower is equal to a horse lifting 550 pounds of weight a foot high in 1 second. That number is what Watt arrived at when he decided he needed to settle on a standard, given that horses vary in strength. 1 mechanical horsepower is equivalent to 745.7 watts. We hear of horsepower used in all motorsport. You might also hear about brake horsepower, and I will explain that in another short film. The term knot, as it refers to the speed of a ship, dates back to the 1600s. A knot measured nautical miles per hour. For example, a ship that is sailing at 15 knots will do 15 nautical miles in an hour. Nautical miles are longer than land miles. Mariners measured the speed of their ships by using a chip log. This tool was a coil of rope with equally spaced knots attached to a piece of wood shaped like a slice of pie and weighted. The knots were typically spaced 47 feet 3 inches apart. The piece of wood, which would float upright and drag, was dropped from the back of the ship into the water. The line was allowed to play out freely from the coil as the piece of wood fell behind the ship for a period of 28 seconds. When the time was up, the line was pulled in and the number of knots on the rope between the ship and the wood were counted. Thus, the speed of the ship was the number of knots counted. The word metre comes from the Greek metron, meaning to measure. Since 1983, the metre has been defined as the distance travelled by light in a vacuum during 1,299,792,458ths of a second. The history of the metre dates back to the 18th century, when the French realised there was a need for a standardised length. The metre would be defined as 1/10,000,000th of the distance from the North Pole to the equator. Dunkirk and Barcelona were on a straight line directly north-south. By knowing the exact latitude of the cities, scientists could use the distance between them to then calculate the total distance between the pole and the equator. From 1792, the job of measuring was undertaken by two astronomers, Delambre and Méchain. Once complete, a platinum bar was made to the measurement of the metre. The bar was pretty close to the current accurate measurement. They were just 0.2 millimetres out. The metre is used everywhere in sport, and I can't imagine the world without it. If you are interested in sports facts and jokes, please check out my 5-star rated book, Interested in Sport. It's available online and in all good bookstores. You should also have a look through some of my many other films I have been creating, and consider subscribing to ensure you're kept up to date about new releases. Please, I would really ask a favour of you. I'd love you to pass the word about my films to anyone you might know. And if you were to share this film with anyone, I'm sure your happiness in life would be completely assured.